Right, right, because of his hard-headedness. And then also, there's supposedly some people in the tent. Some people in the tents over there.
I don't even have one. You look at Briggs.
Hey,
I watch.
Piontek. It's Reed and Piontek. So,
No, I've watched the one long meeting about the
that's why they're,
homeless thing. I watched in my kid's place, and the camera's looking at John. And I sent him a text. I said,
ya?
"You're gonna kill that pen." And he's like, "LOL." But yeah,
see,
I usually do bring a pen
Here,
just in
this
case
is what
I
it
need to
is.
write something down.
and Piontek.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pull up one thing.
Yeah, he does it too.
Hey,
What's up?
Yeah? Here, dear. Now, can we only have 3 things on that executive? Yes. Good. What's the space heater for?
Because it was last week and it was cold,
Yeah.
it was like 60 degrees.
How you doing, buddy?
I think we need to revamp something in our heating and cooling in this.
Hey, you know what Doug and I live across the street from you. Doug, how are you? Anybody else in there yet?
at least one other.
Thought maybe he was just gonna jump over. I was waiting to see that.
Thank you. Possibly.
Hey, Uncle Jesse died. Uncle.
I went back there and went through. Actually, Mike was
I'm not
laying
planning on saying it.
floor in one of them. I don't know how long it is.
Just when I say no or yes or here.
So the top 2 in the front had people in them I know. For months. He was working on the middle and the top. I know they're working on the bottom.
Jane and Doug.
Talked to you the other day.
Calling all cars, calling all cars.
Yeah.
Unit
Because
400.
I ran into her one time and she's, I found her on the street, she was walking out there and I stopped on the street and I said, how's it going? She said, I don't know, Mark. They were the only ones at the time.
Mike?
Yeah, the
Parking that garage.
300, I know somebody had moved into there. He was working on 401. I don't know where they are beyond that. And there's Gary's in there every day doing
There's gonna be enough hot air in here tonight.
stuff all the way down to 100.
Hey, there's gonna be enough hot air in here tonight. So just sit down and blow it out.
They're not moved into it. I don't
Hey,
know, 200
John.
I don't know, Mark.
Are you gonna pull this one up for 10?
Good evening.
Lafayette, Egan?
Yeah.
I got trash about
Go ahead, Sherry.
Council workshop meeting, Monday, February 6, 2023, 6 p.m. Bear?
Here.
Briggs? Coulter?
Here.
Heidrich?
Here.
Holtmeyer?
Here.
Patke?
Here.
Reed?
Yes.
Wessels?
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gang, I'd like to remind everybody, if you're up here at the podium, please speak directly into the microphone tonight.
Will all the committee members answer if they have or have not read the minutes of the meeting dated January 3rd, 2023? Bear?
Yes.
Coulter?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Patke?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Wessels?
Aye.
Okay, gang, I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Patke, second by Heidrich. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion is approved.
Report of department heads, Communication Department, 911.
Jennifer has provided you with the letter that we provided on January 17, 2023, put in your packets at that time. Those numbers really have not changed since that date. However, what she did is, if you want, there's a little bit more of a breakdown. She's provided you with this sheet that's sitting up here at your spots. But essentially, we're still at the same spot of a difference of about $50,986.52, which would, that's the difference in price. Again, this is just to make sure it's very clear, this is just for the phone lines that need to come out from St. Louis out, and whether we either get it directly in the contract with them, and that's the numbers that you see on the left, the 341, 444, 13, or if you have, we go through the county and do a 5-year contract with them, that total is 290, 457, 61. That's why staff is recommending that we go with the remote with Franklin County based on the fact of the savings of $50,986.52. That number could change. It depends on what happens with Pacific, correct, Jennifer?
Yes.
So that could fluctuate, but other than that, that's the only thing that would change. We would still probably recommend that you go with that contract. So,
But as I recall, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Nope, go ahead.
If Pacific does drop out, it's still not going to be more than the 50,000 difference.
No,
Okay.
That's what I was gonna say. If it turns out it is, I assume we are agreeing to this figure. So if it
Correct.
turns out they changed the figure dramatically due to Pacific dropping out, we could come back and review this.
yes. I mean, all we are asking is that if you are ready to go with these numbers, we would ask Mark Piontek to go ahead and start drafting the contract with Franklin County. There are still some things I think that they'll be looking at. We've got their deadline that they were, that they stretched it out to April for us. We still have plenty of time to go ahead and meet that, but if the council wants to move forward, we would have to go ahead and have him draft up the contract between the city and the county.
If we go remote with Franklin County, nothing changes from where we are currently.
Correct. And nothing
Same
changes
service.
also, it doesn't really change our operations and ours, it's just where do we get the phone lines from and
Yeah.
who do
How
we
the calls
contract
come
with?
in
Right.
To the piece down.
Because I was under the impression, and I've also gotten phone calls about it, that we were closing this down.
No,
That's
make
never
it-
been the case.
That is not the case
So I just want to clear
whatsoever.
that up, that's fine. What did we pay previous years in contrary to this 290?
Nothing.
Zero.
Zero. So this is all an additional fee because the county has assessed that on us.
Correct.
Okay. Thanks for the email too, Jennifer, thanks.
You're welcome.
And we're definitely going to get the best service possible. We're not going to get any better service by us going through it ourselves, without going through the county.
No, the service will be the same. It's just how the calls come in.
So they basically come in either through the hub at Union, bounce over to Washington, and if Pacific joins as well too, or the alternative is if we contract directly with AT&T, they'd just be coming straight the lines will be coming straight out of St. Louis directly to us.
Darren, are we still working for the Washington ambulance to come over to our side?
Yes, we are. They had another meeting. I'll let Jennifer.
Well, it really wouldn't be our side anymore, that would be county, right?
Excuse me?
That necessarily wouldn't be our side, it would be going directly to the county. They're already doing business with the county, correct?
The ambulance district is, but what they're looking at doing, and there's been discussions at the last two board meetings, to go ahead and switch over back to the city, which is the way it was 10 years ago. I don't remember what the time frame was.
Not quite that long ago.
Is it 7, 8? I don't remember.
15, I think.
Oh, you're thinking that long.
No, 2015.
Oh, 2015.
Would that have any effect if the ambulance
No.
district comes back on this?
No, I mean, other than you're going to be contracting with Washington EMS then, and we've offered them a contractor, we've given them, basically a boilerplate of, here's what you would pay. It's the same amount that they're paying to Franklin County today. So if you do get them, that's that much money per year off of this, to offset these costs. But like I said, just go back to the answer earlier, what did we pay previously? And it was zero.
Right.
But it would offset our cost.
Yeah, it would. If the more contracts that we're able to go ahead and get and contract with other emergency responder or other agencies, yes, that comes off.
Okay.
So just to reiterate, Jennifer, just a little bit here, if we went through just Washington, we're talking 341, with Franklin County 290, a difference of $50,000 over 5-year period. $10,000 a year that we would, if we would go to our own, we would pay $10,000 more a year. In your opinion, is there any benefit of us doing that as in a benefit 5 years after this 5-year period, I guess I could say?
I spoke with the state 911 director. He did advise that individual PSAPs, it could become costly over time for maintenance and such on equipment as far as upgrades and repairs and just the general maintenance of it. There are other options as far as what type of vendor we go with the call handling and processing. So there's still some options out there. Right now, we're getting a better deal because, they're doing the install all at one time, the maintenance all at one time.
So at this time, it's just, we're better off going with Franklin County for the savings we have, as opposed to trying to maintain what we
With
have.
this model, yes, with this
Okay.
model.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Do we need anything to move it on?
If you'd like, what would be helpful is if the council would vote to go ahead and direct Mark Piontek to go ahead and start drafting the contract.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mark Wessel, second by Holtmeyer. Any other discussion, you guys, before we send it on to Mark Wessels? Or Mark Piontek, excuse me.
We don't want him doing it.
All right, let's vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And nays? Nope. Okay, motion passes. Sherry?
Community and Economic Department, Oldenburg Park Annexation Correction.
Yeah, good evening. This will be just a quick correction. In your packet tonight, I've highlighted on the map the Oldenburg Industrial Park, the 115 acres in total. 5 acres of it exist on the north side of the highway. It's a triangular piece. When we had the annexation ordinance for that last year, it was in the exhibit, but it wasn't actually written into the legal description, and we didn't catch that till we sold the most recent piece to Precoat and looked at the annexation map and realized that that was not included at the county. So later on tonight, we'll just have an amending ordinance correcting that description to match the exhibit and include those 5 acres. We'll send that to the county and get that map fixed. So,
Sal, is everything east of that triangle within city limits?
yes, and everything north of the triangle is as well.
Okay.
There's
Well,
parts.
I guess how far you go east. but-
There's where Krista Lane is and that subdivision that's there, they are outside the city limits.
Yeah, there's a residential street there. Yeah.
Other discussion?
Thank you.
Okay.
Make a motion to send it on.
Motion by
Second.
Holtmeyer, to second by Patke. More discussion? All right. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Sherry?
Engineering Department, street pavement strategy.
Okay, good evening, council. So I wanted to bring this to your attention. The engineering department's been working on this for, well, not been working on it, we've been updating it for quite some time. It's kind of an internal document that we've been utilizing. It's a little bit busy here, but just give you some idea. We track when every street was last paved. We got that all in our GIS system, and then we also have rated every streets like we typically do towards the end of winter time for their PASER rating, which is a rating system on which streets, what their conditions are. That's really how we choose where we want to do our work around town. It's fairly intuitive. It's just a decision that's made, you know, on the actual streets themselves. So we utilize when they were paved over last, what the condition of the street is, and then really take some common sense about the traffic and that type of stuff and how they degrade. So a lot of the streets south of town have really good base. Typically, when you start seeing a degradation in those streets, you can hold that score or that degradation limit for a little while, just because the base will hold that asphalt up a little bit. As you get north of town, in the older parts of town, or even the western, towards the shoe factory, really, those streets don't have any base. They're a very thin base. So once you start seeing degradation, they tend to go pretty quick. So just gives you some qualitative ways to kind of how we rate these things. So what we did was, in order to project out these costs, and the real reason here is as we approach the 2030 sunset of the transportation sales tax, we want to make sure that we're meeting the goals that were set forth in that sales tax, but also trying to forecast how much money might be available to do some of the street extensions that we're doing right now today. That's what this tool is. So what we did was we went through and we rated these streets, and then we tried to we threw a timeline of when we believe they're going to be up for paving. If you could see there, all the colors correspond to the legend, which is a year. Again, this is not set in stone. It's more of a path forward. This can vary, but it just gives you some kind of feel. We took that, and then we also then corresponded that to cost estimates, so we kind of know what we're looking at. Just a forecast model is all it is. So you can see that the colors are kind of lumped together, so we're not jumping all around, paving one side of the town, and then after it was paving the other side of town. We've done that before. It doesn't work well. We've done it just because some streets just need to be done, and we had to kind of jump around. But my point was showing you all this. What it does is it shows you that, and it also will, I'd like to get this out public to somewhat of the contractor community can then see it. It should keep us a little competitive in the paving market, but the contractor world know that we have funds to do this work over the next 8 years, and we intend to do this work on this year. What that does is then they can then forecast years out, hey, we can ramp up production for year 27, whatever, Washington's got this going on. The idea is, again, to kind of keep us as competitive as we possibly can. I've heard from the asphalt community that they're already scheduling paving in 2024. So, I mean, that's how tight the market is, and we got to do everything we can with the tools we have to get that information out. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention. I thought it was important. I know Councilman Hydridge has brought this up in the past about when we're getting to certain streets, and this is kind of the model that we've used. It's just I never really had a really good tool to show you. So if you have any questions on this, I know there's going to be questions. Why are you doing this one? Why are you doing this one? This is a general macro path. It's not the micro project, okay? Does that make sense? So if you have any questions, I mean, open book. We have these resources. I intend to put this live on our engineering tab on the city's website so people can kind of get a feel for it. The problems that I see is once you do something like that, somebody's going to say, well, you said here you're going to do it. Why didn't you do it? Well, we'll just have to kind of, there's a reason. We just have to make sure that we communicate that reason. So you see the red ones, that's what we're doing this year. That's out to bid, right? Or it's already been bid, and they're already starting work on some of the concrete portion of that. So that's what's getting done this year. Then we'll kick over to blue next year, which is eastern side, and we'll kind of meander our way through town. Make sense?
Thank you, John.
Yep.
Any discussion more? Sherry, next one, please.
High Street Project Budget Amendment.
Okay, budget amendment for this. So this is for the dollars budgeted for the High Street project, 80/20 money. It's an STP project we got a couple years ago. We inadvertently left it out of the budget for the design fee, so I can't pay the bill. It was on last year's, it's in next year's, it's just we didn't have it in the official one. So I need a budget amendment to add it. It's for design, it's not for construction. We get reimbursed 80/20 money back on it. I just inadvertently left out the monies to get it paid. And I apologize for that.
Okay.
Motion passed. Second.
Motion by Holtmeyer, second by Coulter to pass it on. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
The Meadow at Coke Farm Maintenance Bond Contract.
All right, Meadow at Coke Farms, it's Beaker Road. It's got access to Beaker Road. It will tie into the extension of Rabbit Trail. This is the maintenance bond contract. Anytime that you have a performance bond to get a final plat without having the improvements done, you have to have a performance contract. We cannot give you occupancy to any homes built on that roadway until you all accept that infrastructure. So that's kind of what holds everything up. On the council agenda tonight, I'm asking you to accept those. I'm recommending that you accept those minimum improvements. But we then require them to hold a 20% maintenance bond for 2 years. So for example, if a concrete panel breaks up or there's an issue with the sewer line, they're on the hook for that for 2 years. It's a warranty. So it's a 20% warranty. That amounts to $15,937. We have enforced these warranties before. The latest was Locust Valley. Once they got the streets, once they got the houses done in Locust Valley, there was about $30,000 worth of concrete work that I made them remove. So if you ever hear that we don't enforce that, or if you ever hear local developers concerned that we're enforcing that, we've done it for others, local, non-local. We do it across the board as necessary.
John, it's 2 years. That doesn't seem very long when you're talking about streets and sewers.
It's well, how long are you going to warn them for?
20.
Well,
I don't know.
yeah. How long do we, right, it's 2 years. I mean, it's not crazy long. Is it reasonably long? Probably. You're going to know when you have major issues in the first 2 years.
Okay, all right.
I mean, is it reasonable for us to have 20 years worth of warranty over top of a developer? I think that might be a little unreasonable. 5? So 2 was chosen. I don't know why it was chosen, but
That's been in your
the thought
code for,
process.
ever since I've been here.
It's typical too.
All
I
right,
mean, that's
all right,
not,
That's part of your subdivision code.
usually what happens is you'll know if you got problems in that first 2 years. Usually.
Further discussion? Okay, I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Patke, second by Hydrich. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Go ahead, Sherry.
1400 Jefferson LLC easement deed.
Okay, this is just a permanent easement deed that the Jefferson Street project at 14th Street, where the traffic signal pole or mast arm blew off the pole. We're not going to move that signal. When the sidewalk goes in, we're going to work around it, so people will traverse around the pole. This would be an easement deed to get that done. So we just got to acquire a permanent easement to put the sidewalk on it. So it's just the easement deed to get that done.
This is for both
Sidewalk. Sidewalk on that project's going on the west side. Washington Business Center. That's probably the best way to say it. It's on that side.
This is both for CD and CE for the same.
Yeah. E's just the south side of the intersection. Substation.
Motion to move on.
Second.
Motion by Patke, second by Hydrich. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Sherry?
Union Electric easement deed.
Same thing, just opposite side. It's the substation.
Make a motion. Second.
Motion by Hydrich, second by Coulter. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next one.
Rabbit Trail CMAQ application.
Okay, there's a resolution on your agenda resolution on your agenda this evening to approve, or to move forward with that CMAQ application. It's due Thursday. I'm trying to pull the money up here. I don't recall.
I've got it right here.
You got it,
The
Darren?
total is $2,587,502. Our application fee is based on what, a 0.5% or
It's a 0.5% of the federal portion.
$9,336, but we get it back if they're not successful in getting the
Wild card there on the job,
invoice.
the wild card there on the project is probably right-of-way, because you have to acquire over an acre of somebody's property. We did estimate that out of what it could be, but, you know, that is a big number.
That's a moving number.
Yep, so just understand that we estimated what that is, it's in that number, but if that could go up. Just understand that, so.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Hydrich, second by Hopmeyer. Any further discussion, guys?
Hydrich better make that motion.
He did.
That's a heck of a deal, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Sherry?
Fire Department, Union Pacific Railroad Parking License Agreement.
Good evening, honorable council members. Before you, you have an exhibit from an approval for Union Pacific to park at the Fire Department Training Center parking lot out on Understall Drive. Basically, the request is to allow up to 3 months of parking, and actually, UP tells me it's going to be more like 4 to 6 weeks, while they're working on the tracks between Labadie and New Haven, and that gives them a central location to shuttle their workers. So they'll have a couple of job trailers there. People come in, park, they clock in, they get shuttled down to wherever the daily work is going to be done on the tracks, do their work, come back, clock out, and take off. So it's just using our parking lot out there. We did a similar agreement probably about 7 or 8 years ago when they used it, and I didn't put in the letter, but there's probably some economic benefit that while they're working here in town and leaving, that they might stop at some establishments within town. And we have a good working relationship with UP.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Patke, second by Hydrich. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Parks, Sherry?
Parks Department 2023 Aquatic Complex Visit Card Promotion.
Evening, council. This is just a letter or note in your packet tonight. We are going to continue our discount on the pool cards that we have at the pool, the 20 visit pass, which is normally $100, would be discounted again to $85 for basically 2 months, all of April and all of May. So it gives you a couple days when once the pool opens, also to purchase cards on site there. And then on June 1st, it would return to the normal rate of $100. And then the 10 visit pass card would still be $50, no discount. That's the same thing we had last year. Really, the only thing new would be the cards this year, the pool cards. We've had a lot of requests about them expiring. And so last year we implemented, the cards that were purchased last year were good for 22 and 23, so this upcoming season. To make it simple and easy on everyone, including staff and how we enter them in the computers and things like that. Now the cards would not have expiration dates on it, so passes would be good with no expiration.
Unless the fees are changed.
Yeah, unless the fees are changed.
One other item that I know this is not part of it, but we did this last year. That's the reason why I told Wayne he needed to go ahead and get your approval to go ahead and do so, because your fees are set by ordinance. But I just want to give you food for thought. It's a little early yet. Wayne's going to be bringing this to you at a later date, but there is going to be a significant increase in our contract of what we anticipate with Midwest Pool that provides our lifeguards, correct?
Correct.
So there are going to be And when I say substantial, I want to say 33,000, I think, something is the estimate. So higher than what it was last year. So I've asked Wayne to go ahead and take a look at, we do have the lifeguard fees for the swimming lessons, to take a look at that, because they do pay for those lifeguards. So I would like to see some of that increase or whatever be passed for those, just for that, those operations. But I didn't want you to hear this at a later date and say, well, why didn't you tell us that we were going to get an increase? So that's still to come, but I just thought it'd be appropriate to let you know that that's in the works.
Yeah, they're, just like a lot of places, they're having a hard time finding staff at $11 an hour, you know.
What was the fee last
10,
year?
11.
156?
Approximately 100, with the swim lessons and all this, it was approximately 165 what we paid to them. And that's worst case, that's if we're open every day and all the lifeguards show up every day. And so generally, we do not pay that full amount, but we have to budget it just to be safe.
Because Midwest Pools even requested not to be open the extra weeks we did last year.
Just
Because they had
the
a-
one extra,
the
we
one extra
added
week.
on an additional week last year.
Right.
Which was new, and that was, now will be a one-time, one-and-done thing, and
Right.
so, yeah.
So you
Because they really had major problems all over the place.
Keeping it staffed.
Staffing, once the high school kids went, or once the college and high school kids went back to school, they had a lot of issues last year, all over St. Louis.
That's a possible 20%.
Yeah. Make a motion to send this on.
Motion by Patke, second by Briggs. Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Yeah, this just needed approval from you tonight, which you gave us, thank you, but it's not in an ordinance or whatever, it's just you guys approved us being able to do the promotional thing. Thank you.
About dock repair, labor proposal.
Yes, so we would like to get the boat dock number one, the one closest to the ramp, repaired. Excuse me. And so I had $12,000 budgeted this year in the budget for this one, and I think the same next year for the other one. And with the river being low, would like to get it done as soon as possible. We bid out the labor and the materials, and the labor came in at $4,800, and we would take the dock out and deliver it. S&K had the winning bid of $4,800. Get the dock out and deliver it. They would install the decking on it, and then the materials was $5,097.46. We'd purchase those and get them to S&K, and they install it, and then we'd put it all back in. While we have it out, we'd check underneath, make sure there's everything structurally good under there. If there's anything else that we need to repair, we got a little extra money there where we can do what's needed.
So we're not gonna do it, we're gonna have somebody else do it? Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
Other discussion.
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Holtmeyer, second by Bear. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion's approved.
About dock repair, materials estimate.
Well, both of those were kind of combined there.
Same thing.
Yeah, same.
Need another motion?
Yes.
So moved.
Motion by Patke, second by, I missed it, you guys.
Hey, Wayne,
Holtmeyer.
Wayne,
Okay.
while we're talking river, you know, several years ago, there's a guy sitting to my right. I tried to get it done there, probably about 10, 11 years ago, to get a permit with the Corps. Why that river is so low, you can get a 2-year permit through them, so we can dig that out all by those boat docks. Is there anything that we can look into about?
Basically, you know, there's nothing you can do with the rock, but every.
All the silt.
Every storm sewer that hits the riverfront hits that, and if you'll go down there and look, there's, you know, a pile 3 foot deep, and all came off the city streets. And I know if we could remove it, we'll probably have problems with EPA or something, but all we have to do is just move it onto the bank, just onto the bank. If we get down there, I mean, it's not, I've done it myself before. But
I mean, with it this low, we can get some equipment.
now's the time, if you're gonna work on it. The boat ramp needs a little concrete work done to it as well. But now's the time.
we may not see this for a while.
John, do you know what's involved with the permit, that what we mean?
So, so I reached out to the Corps. There was a question, I think, regarding can the ramp be extended? So we worked through that just from the, so the boat ramp, I know that's a little bit different issue, but I want you to know that I did
it's
talk to them. They basically said that the process would take about three months to get through to get that done. And I'm not joking. I was like, well, let's ram this thing through, or let's even have it on the docket and get it kind of into works. That way, if the river stays low,
That's
we'll
right.
be able to move quickly with it. So, yeah, but we can definitely start working with them on doing those things. It would probably have to take a long stick excavator, most likely, to get that done. I mean, there's some work there. I didn't know that, when I started talking to them in the first place. As far as the,
I've drove a skid steer down the bank before and came back up with help. I had to have another machine
Yeah.
to get up, but yeah,
Well-
I've been there.
okay, well, it's not impossible. I know that. I'm just saying the effort, I guess, what's the problem that I'm trying to solve?
Well,
That's what I'm,
all the silt from the streets, it builds up in a pile right there,
okay?
When it rains really hard, yes, it scatters it back out, but the bottom line is it's just everything off the street that you can imagine that comes down the storm sewers to the river.
So it's making it more shallow there all the time.
If you look at it, from the- and
I can look
look
at
at each drain as it comes down, you'll see what I'm talking about. There's just a pile of silt there all the time. It never really washes away. It's got some rock and crud in it, but I mean, I'm not saying remove it.
Yeah,
I'm just saying to move it up the bank, and we can't stop it. It's gonna happen.
so there's an issue with passage of boats through there? Is that what we're trying to solve?
Yeah,
Okay.
passage, I mean, yeah.
All right, I just want
It comes from the city streets.
well, I know, I'm just trying to figure out, I mean, removing dirt, silt from the river, again, that's one thing, but so it's an issue with passage of boats. That's what I'm just trying to figure out, because they're going to ask me that. What are you trying to solve?
Well, get back down to bedrock like it was, like it
Okay.
was. That's it. We're
Yep.
not trying to reinvent the wheel here, just
Yeah.
get rid of the sludge on there to where people can use it. I mean, if you look at the river right now, you'll see all the old barges that were there from, 100 years ago. You can see everything down there right now.
Right.
Now is an excellent time. I don't care if you excavator or if you skid steer and lower it up and down the bank like I did, and just move it from point A to point B. I'm not saying remove it totally, just move it up the bank a little bit and
Okay.
it'll be fine. That way we're not stepping on EPA toes or.
Yeah, well, the biggest thing there is we're not going to go in there without the Corps' permission to do it.
Yeah.
We're
Well,
just not.
that's why I'm saying, it was like probably
Yeah.
11 years ago. Wouldn't you say that? About- We'd looked into getting permits.
Okay,
And it was a 2-year permit at that time. So if a river did come up, you had a 2-year window at that time.
at that time,
I
yeah.
don't know what it is anymore.
Well,
And they were all for it then.
well, and the thing about it is like, just, we got a really, really good relationship with the Corps right now. Like, we have good contacts with them and things. So I want to make sure that we do everything, dot our i's, cross our t's, do what we need to do. So I wanted to make sure that I understood what the issue was.
Yeah,
Before we
that's
did.
it.
Now, we did look into the extending of the ramp, and that is not a feasible thing, because essentially the channel is X amount of feet still further out, right?
Yeah.
So you're bottomed out on that ramp. Extending it would just put a flat, it doesn't do you any good.
Yeah.
And I've spoken with, as far as the repairs on the ramp itself, I've talked to Tim a little bit and Mark Scornia regarding what their issues have been with launching. They think it's more of like the rocks at the end more than it is anything, because it's pretty flat through there. That
You could use a little love.
what happened is it looked like they finished the concrete at a low time, and they started dumping some concrete off the edge. It never got finished. So, going out there, cutting that off, and then smoothing it out at the very end, again, $30,000 project, I don't know, is that worth what we're doing? Those are things that we got to kind of work our way through.
Yeah.
But those are things that I'm not going to be able to get done
I know.
in a quick time, but we can work towards it next time if there's a record low river.
I would just get the wheels turning,
Yeah.
and we might want to take a look at that rock wall, that riprap around, right past the axis.
Okay,
That
Yeah, it's
takes a
got
lot
some-
of beating right there.
It's got some holes in it too.
yep, for sure.
When we get to-
Just so we understand, the timelines are not great.
No,
Yeah,
no, just,
there's a few holes in the ramp itself that are washing too.
Yeah, I did notice
That's an
those.
easy fix.
I know, what's the benefit?
We can work on that. Okay? All right.
There's a motion to approve. I just need an aye or a nay.
Motion and a second for, which one was it? C. Materials. Any more discussion on that issue? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Skate park concrete and fence agreement.
Yes, in the half-cent sales tax is the skate park renovation. Budget is $150,000. We'd like to do phase one, which is a removal of the old tennis court asphalt that's failing, and the old fence. Staff would remove the old fence and asphalt, and then we contracted out the new concrete and fence, and the bids came in. You can see them in your packet there, but the winning bid was from KJU Understall at $95,871.75. And we'd like to get going on this as soon as possible. The second phase of this, when the concrete and fence is, after it's installed, would be a new water fountain, some cosmetic upgrades to the pavilion and to the restroom out there, some hardy board siding on that, and some composite bathroom stalls inside. Right now they're all plywood and they get pretty beat up. So I'm looking for a recommendation for the concrete and fence bid. Any questions?
Make a motion to move to council.
Motion by Patke, second by Holtmeyer. More discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Phase 3 Rotary Riverfront Trail expansion.
Yes, so I'm, once again, some of you probably heard this last year or may remember this last year, I'm applying for the grant to connect Riverfront Trail, East Trail and West Trail at Riverfront Park. And so there's a grant, called RTP grant that we received for the West Trail a number of years ago. We'd like to connect the two at Riverfront Park, in front of the Flag Plaza. That, if you remember, if you may recall, is a steep grade into the street there at the entrance of the Waterworks parking lot and right in front of the Flag Plaza. So that would all be leveled out and made ADA compliant. We actually had a lady, I think it was 2 years ago, I included her email and picture in the grant, that she was trying to stop there so she could stop at the road and was on a bike and something happened and she wound up going over the front of her bike, and was just notifying us of the safety issue and wasn't, calling out the city or anything like that. And I told her, well, this is actually perfect timing because that's when I was going to apply for the grant the first time. And so last year we applied. I heard we had a good application, but it didn't quite make the cutoff, so we've been making some improvements. One of the suggestions the grant review board had was to have comment suggestions from the public. So next Wednesday before Park Board here at City Hall from 4:30 to 5:30 in the council chambers, we're going to have an open house. And we'll have the exhibit up on the screen. We'll allow people to come in, make comments, suggestions, and we'll be able to include those in the packet for the grant. So what you have in front of you is a resolution that the state asks us to do, and it says that I can basically sign off on any paperwork for the grant, and then the city's contribution would be $165,950. $165,950. The rest, we are applying for the max amount from the grant, so $250,000 from the grant. Things that, I know the exhibit that's in the packet there's a lot going on there, but we're trying to show the review board exactly what we have going on there as best we can. And so, as I mentioned, that entry into the parking lot and in front of the Flag Plaza would kind of level that out, make it ADA compliant. It gets a lot of people away from the Waterworks building and the customers coming out of the side of the building and the bikes flying by and people running by and potentially getting hit when they come out of the building. It allows the addition to 2 family restrooms to the current bathroom, which would be open 365 days a year, which we don't have now. We don't have a bathroom that's open all year. It allows a nice scenic view of the river, because you're on top of that hillside, going in front of the pavilions and then over connecting to the East Trail. And then one of the bigger features for the city, it would allow the city to access the pump station at the old sand plant, where the old sand plant was in the gravel lot, when the lower boat trailer parking lot floods, which I think is about 17 feet or so. And so that serves a bigger need for the city. Yes, any questions? Like I said, we're just applying for the grant, so we wouldn't find out if we were awarded it until, I think, October, but it's due on February 23rd.
Okay. Any discussion?
Wayne, the actual open house is this Wednesday? the
Yes,
8th.
this Wednesday.
Yeah, not next Wednesday. So, all right, I'll make a motion to send to council.
Second.
Motion by Patke, second by Hobmeyer to send it to council. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Sherry?
Thank you.
Police Department, purchase of new patrol vehicles.
That's your.
Good evening, council. In your packet, you'll find a letter from me requesting the purchase of 3 new police patrol vehicles. As I outlined in the letter, we've had some quality and reliability issues with our most recent Ford Explorers, so that prompted us to look at a different vehicle, and that was the Dodge Durango Pursuit. So we did reach out to some area law enforcement agencies, and they have had a good experience with those. So we took their recommendation. We're going to give those a shot if you allow it. If you look in here, I did outline that we went to bid with 3 different dealers. Schicker Chrysler here in Washington, Landmark Dodge of Independence, Missouri, and Dave Sinclair, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. My recommendation would be to go with Schicker because they are in town. We don't have to worry about transporting officers to go pick up the vehicles, and they did meet the state contract, so their price was the same as state contract, which is $39,450 per vehicle.
Thank you very much, Jim, for doing that, all that research.
Any questions?
Question?
If not, I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, motion by Hydra, second by Patke. Further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Purchase of equipment of new patrol vehicles.
Sherry, the next one.
I did.
Equipment.
That's the next one.
Equipment.
It's the equipment. You said patrol vehicles.
Oh, I'm sorry. Purchase of equipment for new patrol vehicles. Thank you,
Okay.
Jim.
Okay. So this is just the equipment that goes along with it, the light bars, all the cage, the emergency lighting, the sirens, all that to go with it. Our current upfitter, we have, again, experienced some quality issues with them, so we went out to bid again. And the best bid that we had for that was Public Safety Outfitters out of Fenton, Missouri. We did again reach out to some other agents that use them, and they were very pleased with their service. I think they currently upfit for Franklin County, Jefferson County, and several other municipalities in the St. Louis area, so we reached out to them, and they were pleased. So I'm recommending we go with them. And they are the lowest bid, so.
Jim, can they, since we have a garage, can they do it on site?
No, it's difficult. I know years ago, we had a local vendor that would do that for us, but it's just not feasible. That would increase the price drastically if they came to us. So we've been transporting cars for those repairs for a while, so it wouldn't be any different. It'd actually be a little closer than our current vendor.
Make a motion to move on to council.
Second.
Motion by Patke, second by Hydrich. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion
Thank you.
passes. Thank you, Jim.
Do you want to go in executive session, or do you just adjourn?
Have to kick a lot of people out if we did.
Let's do it.
You want to do one? What? We could get one item done in executive session.
That's up to you.
We don't have to.
No.
Just let it go. We'll wait till later.
Go.
Saving 15 minutes.
Make a motion, adjourn.
Motion to stay in session.
No, we
I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
motion to adjourn.
To adjourn. Okay.
You know, yeah, you plan on all these Mondays and then they.
We have a game tonight. Colin's playing tonight. Emma plays tomorrow. Colin plays Wednesday. Colin plays Thursday. Emma plays Friday. Emma plays Saturday.
Got it?
Oh, and my daughter, my youngest daughter, plays on Sunday.
You know where you're going. Oh, yeah. Be a lot. That's gonna be it.
Go ahead, Sherry.
Regular meeting of Washington, Missouri City Council, Monday, February 6, 2023, 7 p.m. Bear.
Here.
Briggs.
Here.
Coulter.
Here.
Heidrich.
Here.
Holtmeyer.
Here.
Patke.
Here.
Reed.
Here.
Wessels.
Yeah.
Folks, we've got a special treat tonight. 443 from Gray Summit. Boy Scouts are here to help lead Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, guys, take it away, please.
You switch chairs with me.
Will all the council members answer if they have or have not read the minutes of the council meeting dated January 17th, 2023? Bear?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Coulter?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Patke?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Wessels?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I'm sorry, who made the first?
I did.
Thank you.
Jeff.
Second?
I did.
Thank you.
Aye.
Approval and adjustment of agenda, including consent agenda. You have the liquor license approval for Guffey's LLC and the final payment request for South Point Road Improvement Project.
Motion
just-
to approve.
Second.
Motion by Patke, second by Heidrich. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now,
Priority items, mayor's presentations, appointments, and reappointments, proclamation presentation, Mike and Eileen Stapp Excellence in Baseball and Softball Award.
Eileen, you guys want to come up? Okay, I need to speak into this, sorry, it's kind of funny. Mayor's Proclamation, City of Washington, Missouri, Excellence in Baseball/Softball Award. Whereas the City of Washington's Hall of Fame recognizes outstanding individuals in the community, and whereas the D.H. Dutch Borcherding Excellence in Baseball/Softball category awards individuals that give back to the community in areas of baseball and softball, and whereas the Washington Youth Sports Association is an organization which has promoted mental and physical health for the children of this community for 3 decades and prides itself on its participation of upwards of 1,000 players in a season for age groups ranging from 4 to 18 years old in t-ball, baseball, and softball leagues. And whereas Mike and Eileen Stapp have volunteered their time through the Washington Youth Sports Association for more than 28 years, and whereas Mike and Eileen have instructed the game of baseball and softball and have created a platform which encouraged teamwork among students, offered opportunities for young people to gain confidence and work experience in concessions or umpiring. They further created a scholarship program and an assistance program for parents who could not afford to pay to play. Now, therefore, I, James D. Hagedorn, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the City of Washington, and on behalf of the entire City Council, hereby take great pride and pleasure in paying tribute to Mike and Eileen's staff, and hereby proclaim the D.H. Dutch Borcherding Excellence in Baseball Softball Award for their dedicated years of service to the youth of Washington Sports Association. Thank you. Yep. Folks, this next item on our agenda is basically the main thing that's going on tonight. I ask everyone, as you come to the microphone, to please state your name, your address, and most importantly, if you would please speak into the microphone. We're going to give the applicants first shot at this. They've got 15 minutes. I've got a list of folks here who have signed up to speak also. I'm going to ask those folks to limit their remarks to 3 minutes, please. And at the end of that, we're going to ask the applicants back. So, any other thing I'm forgetting here, Darren?
First off, we got Sal's report.
Here we go.
Public hearings, short-term rental, 612 Riverview Place.
All right, good evening, council. So, just like we've been seeing multiples of these over the last few months, we have another request for a short-term lodging special use permit here at 612 Riverview Place. So this property is zoned R1B, single-family residential, and per our zoning code, any property in that zone district that requests to do short-term lodging does have to get a special use permit approved, first reviewed by City Council and then approved by you all, which is what we're doing here tonight. So you can see here the property is mid-block on Riverview Place. So Riverview Place is a pretty short street. There on the, actually when you go east of there, it becomes First Street and it dead ends at MacArthur. So you can kind of see this whole neighborhood here just consists of what you're seeing where it's highlighted. And there is no alley access in this subdivision either, which does come up often when we see these in the older parts of town. Zooming in here a little bit to get a clearer image, you can see the home does have a fairly long driveway and garage, so it does allow for an adequate amount of parking. The applicant did state that they can fit 5 cars on that. Obviously, they would have to be stacked single file in order to be parked there, but it does have the ability to have 5 cars even without the garage off-street parking, which is above and beyond the 2 that we require for single-family residential. As for staff's recommendation, as we have for all of these, actually all I think 17 since we've done since 2017, we do recommend approval of this strictly based on the fact that these are residential in nature and have from meeting the standards of the special use permit, as well as have little impact on the surrounding properties. This did go to planning and zoning last month at their January meeting, and there was a number of opposition. There was a petition that was submitted, and I believe should have been in your packet for tonight. And so after a review of that meeting, having the opposition at the meeting, planning and zoning did vote to deny this permit, recommendation of denial unanimously at their last meeting. So now we're here tonight, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. All right, thank you. The only thing I want to bring up, I have had some questions from the audience and from neighbors, I would assume. I've had some calls about the moratorium. Planning and zoning at that same meeting proposed to put a vote on a moratorium at their February meeting. So that does not affect this, since this was applied for beforehand. So I just wanted to clear that up. Next Monday, the 13th, planning and zoning will review and have a public hearing on whether or not to approve a moratorium on short-term lodging until we revise the code, and then you guys will vote on the moratorium on the Tuesday meeting, February 21st. So just wanted to clear that up.
So one question, I know people are going to speak to this, but in your opinion, in the planning and zoning meeting, the reason they voted against it, can you just give us an overview of what, was it neighbors just didn't want it to be there? Was it obviously it's not a parking issue.
I think it's a litany of questions. I think there is a concern about parking because it is single file, that you could fit 5 cars, but they would have to back out, and you may have guests not utilize that correctly and park on street anyway. And then I think it was the character of the neighborhood, that it may not just be a use that is wanted by the neighborhood. I will say these have become increasingly more and more requested over the past year or so, even since 2017, but as you guys all know, about at least one a month we've been seeing, sometimes more. It's really been case by case on the neighborhoods, but I think as the more that have come up, the more opposition we've heard, and I think that's where the conversation came at P&Z, where maybe we need to look at the actual language of the code. So.
Thanks.
Thank you. Other discussion, you guys?
The applicant?
Okay, applicant, please.
Good evening, Mayor Hagedorn and Councilman. My name is Dave Polite. I'm an attorney here in town. Our office is at 438 West Front Street. I'm here tonight to represent the applicant, Marcy Keel, a native Washingtonian who bought this property quite a long time ago, actually, and has been renovating it with the hopes of having this short-term rental. In my 15 minutes, I'm going to try to create as good a record as I can, or thorough a record, so I might talk fast. Interrupt me if you don't understand something. But I handed out a packet of information binded together by this black clip, and I just want to go through that and explain what you have here. First is the special use permit application by my client. Exhibit 2 is a copy of the Washmo zoning map indicating where the property is and that it's R1B. Exhibit 3 is the chart from your code, which provides that vacation rental dwellings are required to get a special use permit in R1B. Exhibit 4 is the 10 criteria for reviewing these applications, which planning and zoning ignored. Exhibit 5 is a short-term rental management agreement. I've been around a lot of towns that deal with these, and one of the concerns of the neighbors in the cities is that there's nobody close to respond to emergencies or guests who need something or complaints or whatever. So my client does live in St. Louis County, but she has signed this agreement with Dion Johanning and Cindy, who live 7 miles away, and they're going to take care of the property. It even says in there if they move more than 10 miles away, then the agreement is terminated. Exhibit 6 is the 612 Riverview Place proposed rules and regulations that they're going to impose on this property. And then I get to Exhibit 7, and there's 17 applications as part of Exhibit 7, 17A through 17Q, as Sal alluded to here a few minutes ago. This possibility of getting a special use permit for these things came around in 2017, and it's my understanding that the City Council has considered 17 applications, have made it this far, and the City Council has approved all 17. So we're on a string of 17 in a row. You look through these, I'm not going to spend time on every one, but you'll notice applications from people in St. Louis, from Cedar Hill, from Columbia, from places more than an hour and a half away. I wasn't at those hearings. I don't know if they have management agreements like we have, but nevertheless, their application was approved. I don't know if their house was as nice as this house or if their owners were going to be as responsive as these owners, but like I said, we're on a string of 17 in a row. Getting to Exhibit 8, just information regarding the place for prospective guests, sort of a rules refresher for people when they come in. Exhibit 9 is a copy of the overhead that was, or the slideshow that was presented at Planning and Zoning. Well, in my opinion, they did a very nice job fixing up the inside of the place. Wouldn't spend all that money and do a nice job like that if they were planning on having people staying there that were going to be loud and rowdy and tear the place up. That would be not very smart on their part. Moving on, let's see. Exhibit 10, a picture of the street looking east, the street that the property is on, and a picture of, the next page, a picture of the street looking west. At this particular time when this was taken, there was one truck there on the left, parked along the street. On the other side, there is a vehicle right there, a little Toyota, but again, with more time, we could present about 30 pictures that show this is the standard, not the exception, that there really isn't hardly anybody ever parked on this street. And if there was, like Sal said, we have the off-street parking available. Exhibit 11 is just an example of the extent to which my clients are willing to go to make sure this is a quality place. Apparently now you have indoor noise sensors and they link to an app right to your phone, and security programs link to apps right to your phone. So even if they are in St. Louis County, they can get a notification or a notice as to things that are going on there. They call Cindy or Dion and they're on it. Exhibit 12 is a copy of the city's zoning map indicating in my crude black lines there properties where special use permits for short-term rentals have been approved by the council in the same neighborhood. There was a question asked previously by Mr. Patke, was the sole reason this was denied that enough people showed up and said they just didn't want it? Yes, that was the sole reason. If you read the minutes from the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, I think that you will glean that same answer. Exhibit 13 is just a copy of an open house notice that they put out among the neighbors, an invitation to come by the house and hear what they have to say and see things and check it out. Exhibits 14, 15, 16 are affidavits signed by people that say that they know that certain people who are likely going to speak tonight have known about this plan to make this a short-term rental for months and months and months. They did not just hear about it when they got the notice to come to the Planning and Zoning meeting, as had been testified to at that meeting. Exhibit 17 is just copies of price opinions. Cindy DeAriba had realtors come through and just make their notes and give an indicator of what they would expect the listed price should be. And it's all very impressive, I think. Mid 300s, high 300s. Again, they made these renovations with the expectation of having responsible folks there, not people that are going to tear their place up. And in case there's anybody that says that granting this would reduce property values, right, they say that, I think, at every planning and zoning hearing. We would beg to differ based on that. And so, just moving along here. If you look at Exhibit 4, criteria for reviewing applications, I don't recall seeing in the planning and zoning minutes any reference whatsoever to the 10 criteria for reviewing special use permit applications, which is their job. They are the technical people appointed by the mayor and approved by the city council to sort of vet these things and be even more detailed when they go through these things than you guys are, so that they can make their recommendation. The factors to be considered: the compatibility of the proposal in terms of both use and appearance. I think you can see the house looks great. It looks like a lot of the other houses from the outside. The comparative size, it's in keeping with the neighborhood. Frequency and duration of various indoor and outdoor activities and special events. Not necessarily special events, not necessarily outdoor activities other than maybe people playing cornhole or something, which any single family resident could do for that matter. Capacity of adjacent streets to handle increased traffic. I believe that those streets are able to do this increased traffic. If you have people staying in a long-term rental for a weekend, I don't know that that's a concern. The requirements for public services, where the demands of the proposed use are in excess of the individual demands of adjacent land uses in terms of police and fire protection. There's single-family homes, there's two-family homes, there's owner-occupied homes, there are homes that are leased to long-term tenants. I don't necessarily see that renting this house short-term to people that can afford the price, who are going to stay overnight at this place, this is probably going to be upwards of $300 or $400 a night, are going to be any more of a problem or any more burden on the police than any of the other people in this neighborhood. Next, whether the general appearance will be adversely affected. You've seen the appearance. Next, the impact of night lighting. I don't see that they're going to impact night lighting. If you've got a problem with that, go ahead and make it a condition. Say no additional ambient lighting, and they'll do it. Next, the impact of landscaping. I think this is more for commercial special uses, but they'll landscape it however you want it, I'm pretty sure. I'm sure they'll make it look nice. Impact of a significant amount of hard surfaced areas for buildings, sidewalks, et cetera. I don't see that applying. They're not going to put in a huge driveway, unless you want them to put in a huge driveway, then they will. But that doesn't really apply here, I don't believe. In my opinion, if you go through the record such as it will be, there is no significant evidence going to be presented to you tonight that this special use permit needs to be denied. And let's talk about that for a second. Special use permits are allowed uses. They are approved uses in the zoning class where they are indicated per that chart that I gave you. Your decision is not approve or do not approve. Your decision is approve or approve with conditions. If all the neighbors speak tonight and they bring up potential issues about lighting and parking and noise, impose conditions on this permit. Say noise shall not be more than 100 decibels measured at the lot line. Say that parking shall be off-street. There shall be one off-street parking space for every guest room. I've seen that in other cities. Condition the heck out of it, but you can't deny it. So I would respectfully submit that to grant 17 of these in a row, some of which are in the same neighborhood, and then to deny this one, which is at least as good as the other 17, I would guess, would be what we call in the law arbitrary and capricious. It's completely arbitrary. As Sal said, yeah, we're getting more of these. We're getting one of these a month. We're getting more and more neighbors coming and complaining they don't want these. Fine, amend the code. Issue your moratorium. But you can't take it out on this particular applicant who happened to be the last straw that broke the camel's back, or whatever the rationale would be, and say, well, we don't like these. There's too many of these, we deny. That's not a legal reason to deny. Again, move forward with the moratorium if you think there are too many of these. You need to find substantial evidence on the record tonight to show that this thing shouldn't be granted. I went in to do some research. Lawyers have a program they call Westlaw, where we go in and enter some search terms and see if there's any cases, Supreme Court cases or appeals court cases that deal with this. I went in there to see if I could find definitions for arbitrary and capricious. The very first case, coincidentally, that came up was Presbyterian Church of Washington versus City of Washington from 1994, I believe, when the council wrongfully denied a special use permit, and the property owner filed a lawsuit, and the court reversed the city. The court said, a special permit is a kind of administrative permission that allows property owners to use land in a way expressly permitted, as your code does, under conditions in the zoning ordinance itself, and thus, if proposed use meets standards described by local ordinance, the agency is bound to issue the special use permit. That's this analysis I was going through earlier. You can admit, or you can admit with conditions. The agency is bound to issue the special use permit, subject to reasonable conditions, which it might impose. Again, what I was saying earlier. If you think parking's a problem, say they got to park off the street. I think they'll do whatever you want to do that's reasonable. So what about all the neighbors who will say that they just don't want one of these in their neighborhood? We should respect their opinion. There aren't any of these in my neighborhood. We almost made my parents' house one, but that didn't work out. So I don't know. I'm not in their shoes. But there are protections in the law for the neighbors, other than just coming and expecting the council to deny a perfectly valid permit application. Those protections are, again, issue conditions. Number 2, this is only temporary. Your code says that special use permits are valid for a year. If you give them this for a year and a year from now we come back and it was party central every weekend and noise and cops go in there every weekend, yank it. You don't have to wait the year. If you get evidence in 2 months that there's parties there every weekend and the cops are called there every night and there's drugs going on or whatever, yank it. We expect that. They've been advised of that. The provisions in your code allowing special uses for short-term rentals didn't just appear in your code overnight either. In 2017, the Planning and Zoning Commission and this council had meetings upon meetings upon meetings and public hearings where the public was invited to come and say whatever they wanted to say about whether they like or don't like these short-term rentals. You know, if they didn't come then, or they have stopped from saying that now? No, I don't think so. But they do, there is a protection there. People get invited to these meetings. And 10, 20 seconds. Also, if the code was in place at the time they moved there, of course, it's sort of a high burden to ask your average buyer, but they can always review the code, say, oh, shoot, short-term rentals are allowed as a permitted use. Oh, shoot, the city's issued 17 of these in a row. Maybe we ought to, you know, not move into this neighborhood because we might be living next door to a short-term rental someday. So in conclusion, I would say your remedy in this case, or the decision, is not to deny the permit. It is to grant the permit with whatever conditions you think are reasonable. And if you don't like short-term rentals anymore, or you don't like them in certain zoning classes, change the code. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Okay, I have the list in front of me here. Annie Klingler, do you care to come speak? Okay.
I didn't put my name on the list, but I certainly want to speak. Am I on the list? It's on there. Okay, that's all right. Hi,
Hi.
Council Mayor, thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Annie, can you say your name and your address, please?
Yes, my name is Annie Klingler. I live at 609 Riverview Place. I'm located directly across the street from 612 Riverview Place. I've lived here in that home for 27 years peacefully. And to address the 2017 short-term meeting that was had that Mr. Polite just mentioned, I would say that I did not receive a letter in the mail to attend that, or I would have voiced my concerns at that time. I'm sure it was posted in the paper, but if I'm not a subscriber to the paper, I would not have gotten that notice. However, I would have stated my claim, but I've lived there much longer than prior to 2017, and I certainly wouldn't have bought in an area where I thought there could be an Airbnb. With that being said, I want to say that I'm profoundly saddened that this close-knit residential neighborhood is before you today, pleading for your denial of a profit-making short-term rental in our residential zone neighborhood. I spent a great deal of time over this last month speaking with many Washington residents who live near Airbnbs and Verbo businesses. I went out on the street and made it my point to meet as many as I could. I wanted to speak to them about their concerns and past issues with me so that my eyes would be fully open. And they were. They were open to the misconduct that occurs in and around these properties. Transient guests have no stake in our residential neighborhood, thus have no reason to behave as neighbors should behave, as my neighbors do, peacefully coexisting, offering courtesy and friendliness, looking out for one another. These transient guests check in, party, do as they wish, check out with no consideration for the people that reside here, that have lived here for years, pay taxes here, send our children out to play here. We have elderly residents who have lived in our neighborhood their entire lives, 50 and 70 years respectively. They do not want to, nor should they be forced to spend their golden years putting up with a party zone wondering what cars are parked in front of their house or what person is walking through their backyard mistakenly. We do not want to continually wonder why a car is driving so slowly back and forth down our street. Are they casing a neighborhood, or is it a transient guest looking for the home they rented and booked online for the weekend? We won't know. This is grossly concerning for everyone in our neighborhood and truly a safety issue for all parties concerned. I will not be redundant about the safety, serenity, noise, parking, small lots, close homes, alleyways, and more. I'm certain you watched the P&Z meeting. I'm sure you're fully aware of how we felt. This is a solid, close-knit neighborhood. It's founded on grassroots, hardworking, tax-paying families that send their children to school here and vote here. We volunteer here. We truly care about each other and take care of each other. We do not want to see our neighborhood become a tourist attraction or turned into a hotel district. We just do not want it. Free enterprise is great for Washington in industrial areas and commercial districts. I'm all for it. But we are a residential zone district. We purchased our houses under those terms. We do not want this. We've made our lives in this neighborhood, and we're here to tell you anything different than a denial on this special use permit, no matter how many have been approved prior, we're not okay with this.
Annie, can you wrap it up, please? I'm sorry.
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
No matter what this investor says she will do if granted this permit, she is not bound by those words. There's no enforcement on that. And I am not going to police the neighborhood for a year, calling the police and occupying the police force, and us be punished by having to police her business. We shouldn't be punished that way. I'm not going to suffer for a year policing her business in my residential neighborhood. We simply do not want this. Do you have any questions of me?
Thank you. Pardon the pronunciation, folks. Tyann Merink, is that correct? No. Please correct me.
Yep, no problem. I'm Tyann Marsing, and I am the owner and operator of Missouri House Vacation Rentals. So essentially the competition to the folks right here, and I am here in support of them. First, I'd like to commend...
I'm sorry, can you state your address?
Sure. My home address, 680 Scenic View Drive, Union. You're welcome. I would like to commend the City of Washington for the absolute wonderful, reasonable regulations that you do have, especially in concerns of safety. There is a lot of other towns who don't have anything to do with safety at all, and you guys do a really, really good job. I would also like to address what I feel is a root issue of the opposition, and that is fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of who is going to be in this house next door. And I have been hosting guests coming into the area since 2017, and I'd like to tell you exactly who those people are. It is friends of families coming for funerals, for weddings, for celebrations, folks coming in for graduations, sister groups coming in to celebrate birthdays and going to the wineries. It's folks coming in because they have family here and they're visiting family. And if they don't have family and there is no connection there, then it's folks who've come in because Washington Tourism has done an excellent job to bring them in. Or it could be folks coming for Purina events and to the dog shows. Or maybe they've heard me talk about Missouri and Washington and the wine country. If you would look at it and if you looked at the data actually, I bet no one is more than 1 or 2 degrees separation between the guest and somebody who's from the area here that they're coming to visit. Those are the people that are coming in, and we host them all the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyann. Bonnie Martin, please.
Hello, my name is Bonnie Martin. I live at number 4 Riverview Court. I'll try to stay under. I am not opposed to vacation rentals in the commercial zones of our town. I am specifically opposed to vacation rentals in residential zones of town, because residential zones are where people live, and commercial zones are where business is done. I could talk about our neighborhood all evening, how wonderful it is. It is our home. It means where we feel the safest, where we're the most at peace. It means privacy, sanctuary, family, memories, fellowship, community. The neighbors, we care about each other in our neighborhood. We watch out for each other. We pray for each other if one of us has a problem. We make sure the elderly ones of us are looked after. It's idyllic and lovely and safe. And I wish everybody lived in a neighborhood like ours. We do not want strangers coming and going and bringing with them all manner of potential issues that we have to police. I know Miss Keel worked hard on that house, and I'm sure it's beautiful. But she purchased that house in 2022, January. There's been 12 months to apply for a special use permit, 12 months to speak to the neighbors. I knew nothing about an Airbnb going into that house until I got a letter from the city. The delay or spending money before you apply for these permits, the consequences of that delay do not belong on the neighbors of this neighborhood. They just don't. My husband, Mike Martin, some of you know him, very tall Mike Martin. He's sick, he couldn't come today, but he wanted me to convey his opposition as well. And a few years ago, when he and I were looking to move to this side of town, we did a ton of due diligence. We talked to a realtor, we had a financial advisor, and we studied the city's published zoning map because we didn't want to live near businesses. We wanted an established, residential, solid neighborhood. So we took the city's map and we used that to decide to invest our money in number 4 Riverview Place. And that is right, that is our investment property where we live. And we live there. We don't buy it and then go live somewhere else and try to make a profit out of it. That's our home, but it's our investment. And for the life of me, I cannot understand why I am up here having to defend my investment or why this out-of-town developer's investment is going to eclipse mine. Since Mike and I invested our money where we live, that means we're fully engaged in this community in ways that out-of-town developers and short-term guests are not. We support the local economy here. We pay taxes, vote, volunteer here. Small business in this town lives or dies on locals. So does its economy. So does its sense of self. Who are we? Are we Lake of the Ozarks, Branson, Breckenridge, Gatlinburg, or are we Washmo? Downtown looks great. It's exciting, glamorous, shiny, and new, and important. I get it. Locals, we like the restaurants down there too, in those little shops. I go down there. But there is more to Washmo than what the tourists see at the front door. I'm talking about the not so exciting, not so fancy part in the back, the community part of community economic growth and development. The auto repair shops and the hairdressers and the vets and the dentists, karate and dance lessons. And speaking of kids, short-term guests and out-of-town developers do not enroll their kids in our schools. What's in the back is what holds this place up.
Bonnie, can you wrap it up?
Wrap it up?
Please.
I can't. I got to get it out. Developers buying home in residential neighborhoods like ours to turn them into vacation rental businesses is doing damage right now to this community. There's a $300,000 median home price right now in Washington. It's overinflated because developers will come here and they'll outbid people who want to live here or each other to get a good house to buy so that they can make a profit on it. The impressive job growth out in the industrial area, who's going to fill those jobs? It's not the people who can afford a $300,000 house.
Bonnie, I'm sorry, I gotta cut you off. We have other people tonight, I'm sorry.
I got to finish, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Mr. Polite offered some sort of mitigation for nearly all of our concerns, but he didn't offer one for the revolving door of strangers in our neighborhood, never knowing who's coming or going, having to be hypervigilant, on guard, fearful all the time. There's no mitigation for that except to not have strangers in our neighborhood. And if you just have to approve this special permit, what was that charade we did at the planning and zoning meeting? Why did you even invite us if you just have to approve it, thumbs up or thumbs down? All right, I'll leave. But I have a lot more to say. I'll leave you my speech. But it's, you know, this is our last chance, Mr. Mayor, to save our neighborhood. And, you know, maybe my speech is longer than 3 minutes, but I really wish you would let me tell you why this is so important to us.
I can see that why
This
it's
is,
important. Bonnie.
our
We can all see
home
that.
is gone forever if you make the wrong choice here. Our sanctuary is gone. Our investment is compromised. Our investment is not less important than hers. We
Bonnie-
live here.
Bonnie,
We vote here.
Bonnie, everybody sees your passion. So, Bonnie, I'm sorry I had to do that, but everybody sees your passion, trust me, and knows where you're coming from. Katie Camper, please.
My name is Katie Camper. I live at 615 East 3rd. This is actually in my backyard. And we all talk about things that we don't want in our backyard, and surprisingly, I don't want strangers there every weekend or day, depending on the rental. The house is lovely, and I look forward to somebody actually using it. It's been saddened by itself for too long, and I hope that somebody is going to be a young family or an empty nester, but I look forward to somebody becoming a part of Washington and not just coming by, hanging out, drinking some beer, and then taking off. As far as people who live fearfully or afraid of change, I'm not one of those people. I've never lived in fear. I welcome change, not this one. I think we've all expressed that there is a wonderful place for these in our community, and that is in the commercial district. I'm sorry that Marcy did not research ahead of time that this was not actually in the commercial district. It's close, which is fantastic for those of us who want to walk down to the many amenities that Washington provides us. I'm way off script here, by the way. But yes, this is not something that has worked well in most communities, that it has become a sore in. I don't often use Washington and New York City in the same sentence for comparison, but as of recent years have shown where we have grown exponentially in Airbnbs or short-term rentals, I believe that the rate has been 300% since 2019, where we started with 14. We now have over 40. For those of us who want to go online and research it, a lot more than 40 come up. There's over 7 sites that I found, and I'm not looking hard, for short-term rentals that are available. And that's VRBO, Airbnb, Dropkey, the list goes on and on. I don't know if all of those are on our rolls, so that I don't know if they're all on our radar, but they're here. So what New York has now is more Airbnbs than they actually have rentals for people that live there. And they also have a problem with their property values. I don't think this is going to drive my property values down at all. I think it's going to make them too high for my kids to move back here and start a family, too high for young couples to start out, too high for rentals, too high for actually homes being purchased. I couldn't afford my home today with the job I have today because of property values in Washington going up, which is a fantastic thing for most people. If you plan on starting here young, it's not a good thing. 60 some odd properties came up in Washington for short-term rentals. Those are 60 families that could be living here and playing Little League ball, which we have a great one, playing Little League football, going to our schools, and contributing long-term. Sounds like that's my time, but I will just say that I think this is a great thing. I think she did a great job. It's beautiful, and I look forward to somebody actually living there. I don't look forward to meeting new people every weekend.
Thanks, Katie. Next is Tammy Wheatley.
Good evening. My name is Tamara Wheatley. I live at 616 Riverview Place. I'm not living in fear. I'm not afraid of an Airbnb. However, I do want to let you know that I'm not going to talk on safety, although there are concerns. I'm not going to talk on parking, although there are concerns. I just want to basically implore you the council to deny this permit for running an Airbnb at 612. I truly, truly, deep in the bottom of my heart, believe that residential neighborhoods should be preserved in our city for those who are seeking them and want to live in them, just like I did. I mean, if we lose the integrity of the neighborhood living, then our city is on its way to becoming like a lot of other cities have become, these little hamlet-style cities and towns. And they're just almost bedroom communities of the downtown city centers. And you can't afford to live in the city center or in a walkable neighborhood anymore. I'm just asking for the neighborhood I love so long and so hard to not become a street of vacant homes, basically, which is exactly what it's going to be, because there's nobody living in these homes. And as you can see right there, our street is small. We only have 8 houses that face Riverview Place. There's a community behind Riverview Place that isn't on this map, and there's a community around the borders of Riverview Place, and a couple up and down the street here that let you know how close this neighborhood is. We all know each other. We picked up a neighbor from the middle of First Street tonight because she was so adamant to be here to show her non-support of this Airbnb. She's 80 years old, by the way. We are heartfelt about this place. It's a little hamlet. It's a little area that you can't pick this out. It's hard to find a place like this. And I'm just asking for the neighborhood to stay a neighborhood. I'm really trusting that you guys will all, and especially our mayor, keep our neighborhoods intact for us and those residents who wish to live in them. And I want to finally just remind the mayor that I wrote down a quote of his when he was running, just in case there's a tie. And it says, "We have got to get more young families to move here. As mayor, I would do everything I could to make Washington the kind of place where young families want to live and stay." And that was candidate Doug Hagedorn at the time. And without you guys denying these votes, somebody's got to break that camel's back. And I'm sorry about the way it turned out, but I really do want this to not be a vacant street. We don't want those destabilizing places in our neighborhoods. So, thank you very much.
Thanks, Tamara. Next is Chelsea Allen, please.
Hello, my name is Chelsea Allen, and I live at 210 MacArthur. So I live around the corner from this residence, and I actually have an alleyway that connects with a gate that goes into my backyard. So you can see it would be very short for someone to be able to get to my backyard. I, however, am in support of this becoming an Airbnb or a VRBO. I've known Ms. Keel since she purchased this property, and I was able to actually tour the property when she first purchased it and was able to see the disarray that the property was in when she originally took ownership of it. I also work for and help run and maintain a family business that is owned and operated out of Washington. We have 35 employees that work for us, and we have we have locations that are in other states. So I have employees that work in other states. I bring those employees in different times a year to come in to do trainings. I bring in vendors different times a year to do trainings. I support and I bring in customers different times a year. My goal and my hope was to be able to use this property as a lovely, beautiful place to host those guests as I bring them in to our community, to Washington, to include them in our small town, family-owned and ran company. I've lived in this neighborhood for 2 years. I love the neighborhood. I was able to move back to Washington to help support the community. I love the neighborhood, but I can tell you of the neighbors that I've seen here, I've only met 2 of them. So as lovely and tight-knit as it may seem to be, I haven't necessarily met all of those folks. I was also informed as soon as the home was purchased, that it was going to be used as short-term rental property, and I was okay with that. Like I said, I immediately thought, oh, great, I have intentions that I can use it for this and this, and that's great. We also have family that live out of state. My family can stay there. That can be overflow. My parents are selling their 5-bedroom home and moving into the Riverfront Flats property that Unnerstall is building. They would like to use the property when we have family come in and visit. I was able to visit the property when Marcy had the open house and see how beautiful the property is and how high-end and upscale the property is, and know the clientele that she is expecting to rent it there, and knowing the clientele that we should hope to have is not one to be worried of parties or mischief. Our neighborhood is very close, and I would assume that if something were to happen, they would, of course, contact the correct authorities, but I'm not concerned that that's going to happen. I'm also not concerned about parking. There have been multiple people that have done construction projects on Riverview over the last year or so, and there's been construction vehicles in the road. I've never had an issue getting through the street to make my way to work in the morning. Thank you.
Thanks. Murray Schwegels, please, pardon the mispronunciation if I did it.
My name is Murray Schwingles. My wife and I own 607 Riverview Place. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Councilman, and Chief. Appreciate all you guys. I've thought about this, and let me back up. There are good people here. I don't know all of you. I know some of you. Some of you better than others. I've just met Mike and Marcy just a short time ago, maybe less than a year ago, I guess. Don't really know them. But what I do know about them is that they're good people. They're hardworking people. Marcy has her roots here in this town. I'm the guy, every winter, my wife and I purchased this 7.5 years ago, something like that. I'm the guy every winter that would go across the street or to my next door neighbors and brush the snow off of their cars without them asking or even knowing about it until after I'd done it. It's just the guy I am. I don't know how many times I would, by hand, shovel the alleyway next to my house at 607 so the 3 people that live behind me could get out without having to worry about snow or ice. That's me. And yeah, I did it in a hoodie and shorts and a pair of boots. But that's just me. Was I upset when I first heard there was a possibility of an Airbnb going in adjacent from my house? Yeah. I'm not going to lie. What good's lying? Talked to several neighbors about it. They were upset. But the difference came when I actually went across and met Mike and Marcy for the first time. And they'll tell you that I'm the kind of guy, I never meet a stranger, and if I've got a question, I'm going to ask it. And I asked them, I said, hey, I heard that you guys might be turning this into an Airbnb. And this has been about almost a year ago. So for me and a few others, this wasn't a shock and awe or surprise that just came up. Because for a few of us in here, we did know about it. And the more I talked to them and the more I met with them, and Dana and I took the time to go out and over to their open house, and I saw the house as well, as Chelsea said, before it had been renovated, and it was a mess. It's neither here nor there, but the people that used to live there, they grew marijuana upstairs. Nobody ever complained about that. I don't think that's going to happen in this house. So my whole thing is this. They're just good-hearted people. You've heard their attorney. It's up to you guys. I just hope you guys can make the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Murray. And Dana Schwingles, please.
I'm Dana Schwingles, Murray's wife. We own 607 Riverview Place. I did not plan on having to come, didn't want to be here. Like my husband said, we have a lot of good memories from this neighborhood. It's great. We did, whenever Marcy and Mike were over there one day, Murray and I said, we're just gonna go over, introduce ourselves. We did, we were on the porch. Murray asked the question, and Marcy said to us that they plan on staying there whenever they come to Washington. They planned on their family members being able to have a place to stay, and they also planned on renting it out. And again, that was about a year ago. There was also a day whenever my husband came in, and he had talked to one of our neighbors. Be happy to share that person's name, but, and that the conversation was that another person had told this neighbor that they had been told by Marcy that it was going to be an Airbnb. So that lets me know of at least myself, my husband, and at least 2 other neighbors who absolutely did know about this about a year ago. I just want to make sure that somebody is telling the truth about that part. And if that has to be me, that's fine. Don't want to be here, but I have seen the house whenever they first purchased it. Whenever we went over and introduced ourselves, they gave us a tour, and it needed a lot of help. It had not been taken care of before whatsoever. Even the sidewalks during the summer, the neighbors before, the ivy, vines, whatever, were growing completely across the sidewalk to the road. So what Marcy and Mike have done is very impressive. It is a spectacular place to walk through. So I applaud them for that, and that's what I have for you, the truth.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you.
Hold on.
Signed up. Nobody.
Folks, I'll give you a minute. You guys didn't sign up, but go
I
ahead.
didn't sign up. My name's Yvonne Garza, and I live at 3 Riverview Court.
I'm Marcia Nazari. I'm at 205 MacArthur Street.
We just wanted to get on the record that, yeah, the Schwingles may still own that home that they're talking about in the neighborhood, but they are in the process of selling it to the people turning our neighborhood into this rental agreement. I think let's get the truth out, and that's fine to say, and yes, they were helpful to neighbors. I have no denial of that, but they were upset about the rental coming in until they sold their house out thinking theirs is going to become the rental. That'll be the next one coming up for a special use permit.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, you guys.
I just want to say I don't know Murray. I don't know these people that bought these houses. I only know Murray because my husband and I borrowed him a chainsaw when his tree went down, and he was out there cutting it up by hand. So we said, hey, do you want the chainsaw? My husband stopped, yes. That's all I know of him. We've been in our home almost 27 years. Like everybody said, it's a very, very nice neighborhood. Everybody helps everybody out. I was out of town one day and my front door was open. I didn't know that. I was out of state. I had somebody call me, are you home? You know, your door's open. People are walking food to neighbors. We don't want transit. We don't want, and it's not the unknown. It's going to change our neighborhood. It's,
Okay. Thank you.
it's just sad if it happens.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to give the applicant 5 more minutes if you wish.
Answer any questions?
Answer any questions.
There are no other names on the list.
Counsel, give me a hand.
Yes?
Go ahead. Go ahead. It was on the door, hon.
That's okay. I am sorry, and I am sorry for all of you. I wouldn't want to be in your shoes.
Your name?
Can you say your name
I'm
and
so
address,
sorry.
please?
I'm Delisa Curran. My husband Greg and I live at 2 Riverview Court. And man, I wouldn't want to be in your shoes. I'm so sorry. I appreciate all that you're doing. I really do. I do feel like I did have a prepared something that I wanted to say to you, but I also have to clear up some things. And beginning with this, I'm not a lawyer. None of us are lawyers, I don't believe, unless they're secret lawyers that I didn't know about. So we're not prepared with what the legal terms are. But I got a notice I did not know at all. I don't know any of our neighbors who do, other than it appears to be the ones who are selling their house to Marcy, and also a friend of hers, who of course she would have told. But the rest of us were surprised by this information. We got the notice a week before the meeting. We were completely caught off guard. My husband, Greg, and I purchased the home on 2 Riverview Court. We had moved away for 8 years to Kansas City. We're excited to move back to the community of Washington. It's a wonderful place to live. Bought a piece of land, thought we'd build a house, found out you have a problem in Washington with finding a place to live. While you build a rental apartment, anything. It's a difficult thing to find a place to rent. So we bought, trying to keep this short, we bought the house on 2 Riverview Court thinking we would be able to live in it while we built the other house. Before we made that big investment, again, not a lawyer, but I did go to the city of Washington, did my due diligence, looked up where the areas are that are zoned commercial versus zoned residential. We chose intentionally to live in a zoned residential area because we wanted to live in a neighborhood with people, not in a commercial district. We didn't want to live next to an Airbnb. We wanted our home to be a home only. If we wanted to invite people in, we thought about having an Airbnb. So we did research a little bit that there is a special use permit, but we chose not to be in that area. We wanted to be in a residential area. We thought special meant special, not that just because 17 others have gone before us and gotten approval, that means that there has to be 18, and then again 19, because Murray's house apparently is also slated to become an Airbnb. My concern with that too is we live on the little road that Murray is so kind to plow. He has been a wonderful neighbor. I do hate to see him leave, to be honest. But we live down that road that he plows. If somebody stays at a place called Riverview Place, where do you think they're going to look? What do you think they're going to look for? They're going to look for the river. That's what I would do. That's the closest way to get to it, is to walk down our street. Now, we're not going to call police every time someone walks down our street. You guys don't need to deal with that. But at the same time, it's going to change things. Don't want to put up barriers in our street, don't want to change our neighborhood, but this is where we live. The other concern that I want to address is that we live in a place that has character. We live in a town that people come to and they want to live. We have generations of immigrants that have been born and raised in Washington, raised their kids, raised their families. Their kids can no longer buy a home here because investors are coming in from other places, St. Louis, or in the example of the Union Airbnbs, they're coming in from other places and living in them. So it's an hour and a half away. There are things you can do to quell the noise and different things like that. But you can't put a person in there who's going to raise children and go to school. These people, my nephew is one, who is dying to buy a house. He can't buy a house from $100,000 to $200,000 that isn't a wreck, because someone else is buying them before they even go on the market, because the prices are inflated because of this short-term rental situation.
Might have to cut you off, hon.
That's okay. I just would beg you, because the other thing that I brought up at the last meeting was never lived in a place that was a neighborhood and not a subdivision. I hate subdivision meetings, I'll be honest. Everybody does, but we get a vote when we have a neighborhood.
And we, as residents of a neighborhood, are begging you to be our vote. You invited us to speak at the last meeting. We thought you wanted our opinion. We gave it. We are not afraid. We're not afraid, except of losing this town. We didn't hire a lawyer, but we're asking you to hear us. Please, please vote for us in our neighborhood. We are your constituents. We voted for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all you do.
Can I have 1 minute?
Last one.
Last one. Last one, Terry.
My name's Terry Alferman. I own the property at 610 Riverview. I live at 875 Northern Sky Drive. I've owned this piece of property since 1978. It's been a residential. I lived there for 14 years. I love the place. I still love the house. I love the neighborhood. My only concern with this whole thing is everybody, if I needed to drive into somebody's yard, or if I needed to do this, or if I needed to do that, I'd go and I'd ask permission before I ever decided to do anything. I find out from my renter, they have a hot tub delivered. Nobody talked to me. They drive a truck right into my yard and leave ruts in my yard. Now, my renter has made it her point to go out and stomp them down. But if that's the way they want to do business, I don't think I want them next to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's going to be,
Guys, we don't want to be a tit-for-tat thing. We've,
I'm Michael Keel. I'm Marcy's husband at 612 Riverview Place. The incident he's referring to was actually it was a delivery truck that we hired to have this hot tub put in the backyard. And I went up to our neighbor's house 3 times that day, knocked on her door to say, hey, it looks like we might have to get in your yard a little bit to get this hot tub in there. Is that gonna be okay? She didn't answer the door. Nothing happened. I actually told the delivery truck driver, I don't feel comfortable with you going in our yard until we get permission. And he continued to just go in the yard. And I said, and she came out and I said, listen, I'm gonna do everything we can to make this better. I sat there and stomped her yard down for 4 days. I raked her leaves 3 times. We bought extra fertilizer to make sure her lawn looks better than it does currently in the spring. So I can't stand when people come here and tell a lie, so I just wanted to get that straight, and thank you for your time.
okay. Hey, gang, come on. Come on. Let's argue passionately but respectfully, please. Questions for council, you guys?
Are we giving them 4 minutes?
give it in 5.
You're giving them
5 minutes, yes, Dave.
Clock's going.
Go ahead.
So again, I'd like to reiterate that, in my opinion, just denying a permit where the technical boxes have been checked to get the permit, like any permit, it needs to be granted. If you had heard any evidence tonight actually about 612 Riverview itself, and not just broad statements about the town or the neighborhood or children or schools, whatever, you might have something to hang your hat on, possibly to establish some conditions about parking. Nobody expressed a concern about not being able to park the cars in the driveway, about noise. I don't think I heard anything about noise, not about lighting. All these general guest houses bad, neighborhoods, people, property owners, let's see. I don't want to live near a business. These are quotes. We were compared to New York City. We were compared to Gatlinburg. We need enrollment of kids in our schools. Short-term rentals are ruining our community. Let's see, what else? I'm sorry Marcy did not research before she bought. Actually, she did research. And if you would have done the research, you say, okay, it's zoned residential. You look at the chart, when you're residential, you can get a special use permit. Oh, the city's issued 17 in a row. That looks like my chances are pretty good. Maybe at that time it was only 12 or 13. We need to keep our neighborhoods intact. Mayor was quoted that we need to keep our young families here. What does that have to do with 612 Riverview Place and the special use application for that particular property? Yeah, let's get families here. Let's find places for them. But this application was filed before any moratorium or code change at a time when you're supposed to analyze it correctly and issue it. Let's see. What else? So I would say, I heard a lot of great comments about guest houses and concerns about short-term rentals and what they do to a community and what they do to a town and what they do to a neighborhood. And I hope every one of these people comes back and testifies verbatim if they want to before planning and zoning and before the city council when you have your hearings regarding the moratorium and regarding a possible code change, you know, addressing these things. But for tonight, for what's on before you tonight, this application for special use permit, there is not substantial evidence to deny. There is not substantial evidence to even put conditions on this thing. There is not substantial evidence that you have the right, the legal right to treat this application any differently than you did the 17 prior applications. As I said in my opening, you can't just decide, okay, we don't like these anymore. We're having more and more people come to our meetings and complain, deny it. You have to have something to hang your hat on. You have to have a reason. And I would respectfully submit that you haven't heard any reasons to deny this particular application tonight. Thank you.
Ma'am, this is not a court of law with arguments, okay? I understand. I understand. Okay, council, discussion.
I just want to make note that, Mr. Polite, there was, at the P and Z meeting, there was about parking, there was about noise, there was even a fear of somebody jumping out of a hot tub and their grandkids seeing it. So there was those issues. They might not have said it tonight, but.
Well, we addressed parking with.
David, can you go to the podium, please?
Will there be like a question and answer session? I think we addressed the parking with the 5 off-street parking spaces. I can put a hot tub in my backyard and have a kid jump out of it. I've lived there for 23 years. That can happen whether it's single family, dual family, whatever. So
I just wanted to make you aware of
Yeah,
that.
I think the point that Mr. Hydrich is trying to make, in our packet, we have everything from the P and Z meeting where those were addressed with parking and noise and those things. They just weren't brought up tonight.
And Mr. Hydrich's quote that there's just too many neighbors here tonight that are against it, and I have to go with whatever the neighbors say because that's what I was elected to do. That's not a very specific factor.
It's not?
No.
Wouldn't if somebody hired you to be a lawyer, wouldn't you defend them? Or would you just sway with the other person? Those people elected us, so we have to defend them. We have to be their voice.
You took...
Gang,
My only response to that is when you were elected, you took an oath of office to uphold the laws and ordinances of the city of Washington, Missouri. And that's on behalf of the entire city. You don't just represent your ward, you don't just represent this neighborhood, you represent the entire city, and you have a city code this thick that you have to be kind of concerned about you making decisions consistent with it.
gang, that really, it doesn't do your argument any good if you're disrespectful, okay? I'm on the fence about this, and remarks like that, it's going to sway some people. It may sway me, okay? So let's be respectful, everybody. Thank you.
Fellow councilmen, I'd just like to say that we knew, or at least I knew, that at some point we were going to come to this. So approving special use permits for vacation rental homes was going, at one time, going to be enough. It was going to be, where are they at? How many? Obviously, we've come to that point. no disrespect to this neighborhood, but due to the fact that the applicant has applied, does put them in a position where granting that application is, again, can be denied, not against, but in a good spot. But I think moving forward, we must issue a moratorium. We must look at our code changes, put a halt to it, so we do put these in the right spot, the right neighborhoods, or their lack of, in the future. So, again, I guess my point is that we can't stop someone from buying a piece of property with the intent of doing this and then change it mid-application. If we have a change made before that application is submitted, then they follow the code for sure. I completely agree with that. And like I said, we need to change the code as we see fit. And I think we've talked briefly about that, but now it's come to a huge head here tonight. There's no doubt about that. But the 17 before it, the 60 before it, whatever we have in town, we have now come to a point where enough is enough, and we have to figure out a better code change. Whether you agree with that or not, I don't know, but other comments?
Well, I'd like to say all these people there are my neighbors. I live 4 houses away from this, and I know how they feel. And you're right, they voted for us. I can't say I'm a big fan of it, and I understand, I know every one of these people. It's in my hood, and are we going to table it, or are we going to vote on it?
I don't see what tabling, I don't know what good we do. I thought about that. We're going to have to make the decision, whether it's tonight or it's 2 weeks from now, and I don't see any change as a result. I personally, and I understand what these folks are talking about. I've talked to several of you, and I mentioned to a couple of you on the phone that we're kind of on the cusp here, unfortunately for the people involved here, of this decision about when is it time to bring a limit. I've asked the city for details on how many households do we have, exactly how many B&Bs do we have, or Airbnbs, and what percentage is that, how does that compare to other, I think we need to make that an informed decision also when and if we do this moratorium. I personally, I don't know how we can go against the ordinances and laws that we've put in place right now. I don't know how we can do that and fairly do that across the board, where you pick, that's the whole idea of having these, so that you don't, when you come up with these things, you have something to guide you. You have something to go by. And we've had these rules in place for some time. I for one, feel like we're going to have to follow them and grant the approval.
Bonnie, I'm sorry, the public comment section is over. I know you guys each would have differing arguments with what the councilmen are saying, but quite frankly, it's time for the council to act, and we need to get their viewpoint too. So I'm sorry to cut you guys off, but gang, go ahead.
Anybody else?
Okay. We'll accept the motion.
Need a motion to approve it into the minutes.
I make a motion. Second.
Motion by Holtmeyer, second by Wessels. I think we probably ought to have a roll call vote.
This is just, you're just accepting it into the minutes.
Accepting it.
The ordinance is next.
Sorry, guys. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And nay? 2 nays. Okay? It's in the minutes.
An ordinance granting a special use permit to utilize 612 Riverview Place as a vacation rental in the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri.
Patke.
Okay, approved by, or
Introduced.
introduced, thank you, by Patke.
Any discussion?
Further discussion? Okay, go ahead, Sherry.
An ordinance granting a special use permit to utilize 612 Riverview Place as a vacation rental in the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri. Bear?
No.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Reed?
No.
Patke?
Yes.
Wessels?
Aye.
Coulter?
No.
Heidrich?
Nay.
Briggs?
No.
By your vote,
Denied.
denied the special use permit. Okay.
Citizens' comments?
That's fine, go ahead.
Citizens' comments.
Anybody to speak? Ask if anybody, we'll give it a minute to clear out.
Yeah, we'll give you guys a minute to clear out. You guys, I ask you, this was difficult for us too. I know it was difficult for everybody in this room, okay? I ask you to keep the lines of communication open, okay? This is an issue that's not going to go away. We live in a town that people like to come and visit, okay? When we had a wedding here, our friends and family stayed at Airbnbs. I used to run a bed and breakfast out of our home, okay? And the only way this town is going to continue being who we are is if we don't get mad at each other for petty reasons, if we talk to one another. Okay? Thank you. I know, Bonnie. I'm sorry.
Just give it to over there to the.
Sherry.
Sherry.
Well, that was fun.
We are not done yet either.
We got a long way to go.
I know you were prepared, but I'm glad you didn't.
Yeah, I guess.
What's that? Thank you for mentioning that. That's the point I was trying to make. Let's go.
Oh, I don't know about that, Ruth. Thank you. It's nice to hear, Ruthie. I know. I know that. No, it's not. Thank you.
Can we tell them that we still have a meeting?
We gave them, we told them.
It's not the end of
They're
it.
not moving too fast. Oh, okay, I got you.
Come on, guys, hugs.
I got you.
Outside.
Mayor, would you like me to start clearing them out?
Yeah, please. Thank you, Jim. Kind of mobbish.
That's, I did not expect that.
I didn't either.
I'll email you. No, I'll send it to you.
To be honest,
You're welcome.
I didn't hear one.
Logical. No.
I didn't. I mean, I know it's popular, but I didn't hear logical.
Okay. Everybody ready to get back at it? Okay.
You want to try citizens' comments?
Citizens.
Any citizens' comments out there?
One thing's not on the agenda.
Hey, Mike. There we go.
There goes Mike. All right.
Mike Johns, 16 Robert Street. You guys confuse me here. You make the rules, but you get to change them when you want. The rules were set up for such a time as this, and you said, no, we're not gonna follow the rules. That's why I'm gonna agree with some of you sometimes not. So those other 17 people, there were more sketchy areas, and you okayed them. This was a beautiful area with a beautiful home, and the rules said you gotta say yes. You didn't. I mean, you confuse me. You do. I'm just letting you know. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike.
Mike. Over here. The reason I voted no, I have never seen such opposition to anything that we have approved. I mean, we do represent the citizens.
Oh, I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing
And I'm
with
not
you.
saying
You
that-
just confused me. That's all I'm saying. That's all. It just confuses me. Because one issue you'll do this, and we can bend the rules. This time we got to stick with the rules. This is the way we're going. This is the plan, right, Mr. Wessels? This is the plan. We got to go this way. Mayor, this is the way we're going. Oh, no, this time's special. We're going to change it. But I admire you all. I'm going to agree and disagree with all of you. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, what's next?
Any report of department heads?
No.
No.
Go ahead.
Ordinance is a...
Thank you, John.
Thank you. I think Jim just told John.
Those who can't hear very well.
Go ahead, Sherry.
Ordinances and resolutions. An ordinance amending Exhibit A of Ordinance Number 21-13459, being an ordinance annexing approximately 115 acres of the Waterman Farm as M2 Heavy Industrial into the city of Washington and Franklin County, Missouri.
Pat Key.
Introduced by Patke.
And again, this is just correcting that ordinance, adding that 5 acres to the industrial park and annexing it into the city.
Questions, discussions? Okay, go ahead, Sherry.
An ordinance amending Exhibit A of Ordinance Number 21-13459, being an ordinance annexing approximately 115 acres of the Waterman Farm as M2 Heavy Industrial into the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri. Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Reed.
Aye.
Bear.
Yes.
Patke.
Yes.
Wessels.
Aye.
Coulter.
Yes.
Heidrich.
Aye.
Briggs.
Yes.
By your motion, or by your vote, passes.
An ordinance amending the 2023 budget of the city of Washington, Missouri.
Introduced by Holtmeyer.
As discussed at the previous meeting, this is a budget amendment to include the High Street design into this year's budget. As discussed, I inadvertently left that portion out. That is an 80-20 project, but with any 80-20 project, we have to pay our bills and then request that the federal government graciously gives us our money back. So with that, I need the money to pay the bill to get the money back. I apologize for my mistake in the budget process.
Okay, go ahead, Sherry.
An ordinance amending the 2023 budget of the city of Washington, Missouri. Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Reed.
Aye.
Bear.
Yes.
Patke.
Yes.
Wessels.
Aye.
Coulter.
Aye.
Heidrich.
Aye.
Briggs.
Yes.
Okay, by your vote, the motion passes. 7C, please.
An ordinance providing for the approval and acceptance of minimum improvements for maintenance for the Meadow at Coke Farm subdivision in the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri.
Pat Key.
Introduced by Patke.
Okay, this ordinance would accept the streets, sanitary sewer, storm sewer, water mains within the subject subdivision. We have inspected those throughout the process. It is important to note that this request happened at the last meeting, prior to the last meeting. And one of the issues that we had with the subdivision was its SWIP compliance, construction, just siltation control, basically. That there were some issues that I didn't feel comfortable coming to you with while we're working through our DNR problems. So part of the process is me to bring that forth to you and ask you to follow, I guess, our recommendation. And I could not do that at the last meeting with the way that the job site was left, so I did not bring that. That did somewhat delay that project by a couple weeks. and maybe one occupancy. So just so you know, I did not come to you with that due to their lack of being able to get their siltation under control. They have since fixed that. So we're hopefully moving forward in the right direction. This does also accompany with it a $15,937 20% maintenance bond that's in place for 2 years for that project.
Discussion? Okay.
An ordinance providing for the approval and acceptance of minimum improvements for maintenance for the Meadow at Coke Farm subdivision in the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri. Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Reed?
Aye.
Bear?
Yes.
Patke?
Yes.
Wessels? Coulter?
Yes.
Hydrich?
Aye.
Briggs?
Yes.
By your vote, 7C is passed.
And real quick, Sherry, on that, since you did approve that, there is one home in there going to be occupied now. Now they can schedule that occupancy inspection. So thank you.
Cool.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an easement deed by and between the city of Washington, Missouri and 1400 Jefferson LLC.
Patke.
Introduced by Patke.
Okay, this is the city accepting or at least allowing me to pursue to get a permanent easement to place the sidewalk along Jefferson Street at 14th Street, the Washington Business Center. The reason why we can't stay tight to the back of curb and need to do this is there's a signal pole in the way, and rather than move the signal pole, it's much more cost effective to go around it. It's pretty typical, happens a lot. Just allows us to start moving forward with that negotiation.
Discussion? Nope. Go ahead, Sherry.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an easement deed by and between the city of Washington, Missouri and 1400 Jefferson LLC. Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Reed?
Aye.
Bear?
Yes.
Patke?
Yes.
Wessels? Coulter?
Yes.
Hydrich?
Aye.
Briggs?
Yes.
By your vote, 7D is passed. E, please.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an easement deed by and between the city of Washington, Missouri and Union Electric Company.
Patke.
Introduced by Patke.
Same situation, easement around a signal pole. This is on the south side. There's a Ameren substation there, so it just allows us to work with Ameren to acquire that easement to get the sidewalk in.
Okay, go ahead.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an easement deed by and between the city of Washington, Missouri and Union Electric Company. Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Reed?
Aye.
Bear?
Yes.
Patke?
Yes.
Wessels? Coulter?
Yes.
Hydrich?
Aye.
Briggs?
Yes.
By your vote, 7E is passed. F, please.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a parking license agreement by and between the city of Washington, Missouri and Union Pacific Railroad Company.
Introduced by Holtmeyer. Mark.
Relatively simple agreement allowing Union Pacific to utilize the Fire Department Training Center parking lot for a period of up to 3 months.
Questions?
You're not putting any meters on those parking lots.
We no meters. No angled parking.
Okay.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a parking license agreement by and between the city of Washington, Missouri and Union Pacific Railroad Company.
Aye.
Oh, thank you. Holtmeyer. Reed?
Aye.
Bear?
Yes.
Patke?
Yes.
Wessels?
Aye.
Coulter?
Yes.
Hydrich? Briggs?
Yes.
By your vote, it passes. 7G, please.
An ordinance accepting the proposal from SK Contractors, Inc. for boat dock decking, bumper removal, and installation.
Coulter.
Introduced by Patke.
Yes, so this is for the labor to redo the boat dock, number one, closest to the ramp down on the riverfront. The SMK Contractors.
Questions? Okay, go ahead, Sherry.
An ordinance accepting the proposal from SK Contractors, Inc. for boat dock decking, bumper removal, and installation. Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Reed?
Aye.
Bear?
Yes.
Patke?
Yes.
Wessels?
Aye.
Coulter?
Aye.
Hydrich? Briggs?
Yes.
All right, we're going to get an updated doc. H, please.
Until you get the material.
An ordinance accepting the estimate from John Hall Lumber Company for boat dock materials.
Bear.
My bad, I didn't.
Introduced by Bear.
This is for the materials for the boat dock repairs at the Riverfront Park.
What if we don't approve this? We already got the labor. Just a question.
Why do you ask those questions?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Sherry, please.
An ordinance accepting the estimate from John Hall Lumber Company for boat dock materials. Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Reed.
Yeah.
Bear.
Yes.
Patke.
Yes.
Wessels.
Aye.
Coulter.
Yes.
Hydrich.
Aye.
Briggs.
Yes.
By your vote, H passes. Letter I, please.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a contractor agreement with KJU Inc. doing business as KJ Understall Construction Company for installation of a concrete pad, sidewalks, and fence at Optimus Skate Park.
This is the skate park renovation I spoke about earlier. Parks will remove the old asphalt and fence and then contract out the new concrete and fence.
No discussion? Great. Go ahead, Sherry.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a contractor agreement with KJU Inc. doing business as KJ Understall Construction Company for installation of a concrete pad, sidewalks, and fence at Optimus Skate Park. Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Reed.
Aye.
Bear.
Yes.
Patke.
Yes.
Wessels.
Aye.
Coulter.
Yes.
Hydrich.
Aye.
Briggs.
Yes.
By your vote, letter I passes. J, please.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the City of Washington, Missouri to enter into a sales contract between Schicker Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Washington for the purchase of 3 2023 Dodge Durango Pursuit Patrol vehicles.
Hydrich.
Introduced by Hydrich.
Good evening, esteemed council. See how I did
I
that?
pointed out, he said respected, because he wasn't asking for more money. If he was asking for more money, you'll be called esteemed.
That's right. Now, this is like I spoke of earlier. I'm asking to purchase 3 brand-new Dodge Durango Pursuit vehicles from Schicker Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Washington for a total of $118,350, which meets the state contract price.
Questions, guys? Good. Read it, Sherry.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the City of Washington, Missouri to enter into a sales contract between Schicker Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Washington for the purchase of 3 2023 Dodge Durango Pursuit Patrol vehicles. Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Reed.
Yes.
Bear.
Yes.
Patke. I'm sorry, was that a yes?
Yes.
Wessels.
Aye.
Coulter.
Yes.
Hydrich.
Aye.
Briggs.
Yes.
Okay, by your vote, J passes. Let's do K, please.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the City of Washington, Missouri to enter into a sales contract between Public Safety Upfitters, LLC for the purchase, outfitting, and upgrading of equipment for 3 2023 Dodge Durango Pursuit Patrol vehicles.
Introduced by Holtmeyer.
This is just for the equipment to outfit those 3 vehicles.
Gotta have it. Go ahead, Sherry.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the City of Washington, Missouri to enter into a sales contract between Public Safety Upfitters, LLC for the purchase, outfitting, and upgrading of equipment for 3 2023 Dodge Durango Pursuit Patrol vehicles. Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Reed.
Yes.
Bear.
Yes.
Patke.
Yes.
Wessels. Coulter.
Yes.
Hydrich.
Aye.
Briggs.
Yes.
By your vote, K passes. Let's do L, please.
A resolution authorizing the City of Washington to apply for funding through East-West Gateway Council of Governments to provide for the Highway 100 and International Avenue / Rabbit Trail Drive CMAQ project in the City of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri.
Hydrich.
Introduced by Hydrich.
It's a resolution, it's not an ordinance.
Ah.
My rear roll? Okay. This is Rabbit Trail, Highway 100 International, hot topic discussion for many, many years. We are applying to relocate Phoenix Center Drive to the south. The concern I think that I would have, or the risk that I would have, with approving it would be, is we don't know what the right-of-way cost would be at this time. It's an estimated cost. The application fee for this is $9,336. It is refundable if we do not get it. It's got a total project price tag of $2,587,502. I did want to note that there is one comprehensive plan item as part of this project that is adding a right turn lane on the westbound 100 that was shown on the comprehensive plan, so there is some benefit there. It does also extend pedestrian walking path from International, that was a previous STP project, to the south, to the cinema, essentially property, which would then allow you to extend that at a future project in the Phoenix Center. So there is some other benefit here. The reason why we added those two components to the relocation is this is a CMAQ application, congestion mitigation and air quality. They're 80/20 grants. Last year, all CMAQ applications were approved prior to Surface Transportation Program, STP applications. We met with East West Gateway about this project. They were not, I guess, as confident that it's a great CMAQ project. I told them, well, is it one that meets the minimum? They said yes. So just because it's not a good one doesn't mean it doesn't meet the minimum, which means if they follow the same criteria as approving them last year, we would slide in there with an approved project. So I do believe it does have some value, that we had a pretty good chance at it. But it does have a pretty hefty price tag. But it would also be, it's the preferred solution to fix the either agreed upon or perceived issue at the intersection. So I need this resolution to get the application in on Thursday.
Councilman Hydras made a motion, I'll make a second.
Okay. All those, any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
By your vote, the motion passes. Letter M, please.
A resolution supporting the application for federal assistance from the Recreational Trails Program for Phase 3 of the Rotary Riverfront Trail expansion in the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri.
Yes, this is the east connection of the east and west trail at Riverfront Park that I spoke about earlier. The cost for the city, if we were awarded, would be $165,950. And we are applying for the max amount with the grant, which is $250,000. And we're having an open house on Wednesday, so if you'd like to comment on any of the proposed items you see in front of you, or if you want to hear citizen comments, please stop by between 4:30 and 5:30 Wednesday here in the council chambers.
I'll make a motion to support.
Second.
Motion by Patke to support, second by Bear. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. By your vote, M is passed.
Mayor's report.
Okay, second council meeting in February is Tuesday, the 24th, through the President's Day holiday. I hope all you guys read my first link via email that I sent to you.
The one you were asking for Apple cards?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Horses, too.
Yeah.
In the next few days, I'll get another one. Let me look into my crystal ball for a few days and see what's coming down the pipe. So I hope you enjoyed it. Any input is always welcome. So, thank you.
City Administrator's report.
No report, but we do have several items in executive session.
Council comments.
I got one comment. I will be working this Sunday with our volunteer fire department at Our Lady of Lord's breakfast from 8 till 11. So come hungry and bring a fat wallet. Thank you.
If you're cooking, I'm out.
Oh, you gotta be working the whole time? You ever seen a fat guy that can't cook?
City Attorney's report. Public vote on whether or not to hold a closed meeting to discuss personnel, legal, and real estate matters pursuant to Section 610.021 RSMO 2000. Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Reed.
Aye.
Bear.
Yes.
Patke.
Yes.
Wessels.
Aye.
Coulter.